Hello and welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. I'm Heena Goswami, Editorial Consultant with IGPP, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, New Delhi. In our ongoing series about artificial intelligence, its various aspects and impacts, today we are joined by a very special guest, Dr. Chiranjiv Roy. Dr. Chiranjiv Roy is a distinguished data analytics and AI executive with a remarkable 20-year leadership journey in the realms of data science, AI, machine learning, deep tech, consulting, and advanced big data analytics. He holds the distinguished titles of Top Data Scientist India, 40 under 40 Data Science Leader, and Top AI Leader. Dr. Roy also promotes and guides startups and incubation cells across the world. Welcome to IGPP Expert Talk, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, IGPP, for this opportunity.
So, what role does data play in artificial intelligence, and how integral is data in shaping AI functionalities and outcomes?
So I've been practicing on data for the last 20 years, right? As you just mentioned. What changed is how data can be more effective and explainable. Let me get to the point. So data is the cornerstone of artificial intelligence. Without data, nothing can, right? The two things which impact with respect to data is the quality of the data and the diversity of the data, which distinguishes and puts that influence through the accuracy and the reliability of the artificial intelligence system that you're building, right? Which is primarily the AI functionalities and outcomes, right? So if you want to have or want to calculate the return of investment on an AI system, you would have to have better quality data, diversified data, right? And just data will not work, right? For example, let's say in predictive analytics, right? So in predictive analytics, we look after something called customer behavior. You want to understand about customer behavior. So a detailed customer data will lead to your accuracy of the predictions. However, if the data is biased or incomplete, right? Can every person entering into, let's say, Big Bazaar will buy something? That's biasness. Because you took a data set where all the people who have bought something or the other. But that's not the population, right? 100 people went inside the shopping mall or that shopper's store. Did everybody buy? No. There has to be some. So that's an incomplete data. So it becomes ineffective or it creates skewness in the data. So ensuring, I think, data integrity is the most paramount for artificial intelligence.
So, what is big data and why is it cited as a driving force behind the current proliferation of AI and the momentum that it has gained?
Let's take the same example and take it forward from here, right? You talk about 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, but we are talking about millions of people who are making trillions of transactions a day, right? Let's say, and then you are developing a customer propensity model or customer behavior model, right? On which kind of product brands people would love, right? Let's say let's say Zara, or which is a fast fashion brand, or it can be any lifestyle brand that you wanna take up, right? Now, in this kind of a situation, you cannot take 200, 300 data points and start working on it. So that means you require a large amount of data. That is where the challenge is. That's what big data is all about, right? So big data is about the 5 V's. It started from volume, veracity, value, and so on and so forth, right? Velocity to be precise, right? So it has to, we are talking about a large scale of data. That's what we are talking about. The problem is not all data which is collected is valuable or relevant. We are going back to the same example, right? We do not, or we cannot take the data which is not showing any dimensionality, right? Or distinguishing parameters, right? So the challenge is about discerning the useful data from what we call as noise, right? I think, for example, like in our case, right, transaction data is very crucial, right? But excessively detailed browsing logs might not add anything. For example, let's say you are doing it for an e-commerce platform, right? For example, let's say Amazon or whichever that you take, right? Flipkart or whatever, right? So you can take continuous browsing logs, right, of people who have browsed, but are all logs relevant? No, right? That's where the problem is, right? The the process of leveraging that data effectively, rigorous cleaning, validation, automatic analysis, right, to ensure relevance and the accuracy part. That's important. And that's where, which is very resource intensive and technically demanding. If you can crack that well, and it takes good amount of time, you need to spend a lot of time in doing that. Just that automation or creating a big data system will not solve the problem. That will bring value and relevance with respect to it.
When we're talking about data, we also come across with something, the cultural context of data, right? So what are the challenges associated with training AI models on data that might lack cultural sensitivity, or how important is the cultural context to the use of data?
Oh, very much. And the most important factor we all know are the 4 steps of artificial intelligence: training, testing, validating, deploying, right? And retraining, rerunning, and so on and so forth, right? Which is part of the, so that's the system of artificial intelligence, right? Um, Training AI models on data which is lacking cultural um, sensitivity, right? It can very well get into a biased and insensitive AI output. Like, for example, um, let's say an NLP model or a language processing model. We are talking about LLMs today, right? Um, Language processing. So while I was working on my PhD, right, in my postdoctorate, LLM and NLP was primarily one of my areas of work, right? I found that um, even in Europe, right, as like India, you cannot create an AI model which is which you can train on German dataset or German spoken language. You can apply it on Norway or Nordic, right? Or like France, right? So a single cultural perspective, as like India, right? You create a language model thought provoking with Karnataka would be the same in Maharashtra. No, it cannot have, right? The same features that will be very misinterpretable because the way that we speak in Hindi, right? Kannada is different, Marathi is different, and there are so many diversity of languages. And it's not just about translating of that language. It is about how you mix the passion part with it, right? So the cultural nuances in the text, right, um, if not understood clearly, can get into miscommunication, offensiveness, and um, not just about slangs being taken up care of, right? In this kind of cases, as in um, it requires a very diverse data set and continuous learning, right? Which would encompass your cultural context, your continuous model training, model monitoring, model updating, right? So that's why with CI/CD we call it continuous integration, continuous development. We now call continuous training. So you cannot train a model one time. It has to continuously learn because human beings evolve over a period of time, right? The model also needs to evolve. So you cannot have a single one. So hence cultural sensitivity, right, in every part and scale is very, very important. But it's extremely challenging, right? requires continuous throughput.
You mentioned that, data is the cornerstone of AI, artificial intelligence, and lifeblood of AI models. So we also hear that the well of, natural data is running dry.
Mm.
How true is that? And what are the obstacles that, that tech experts and researchers will encounter if that is true?
It's true to a certain um, level, right? With natural resources, natural data resources being getting limited, and experts are facing those kind of challenges, right? Building, as I said, right, continuous training is very important, right? You cannot train a model once and run it for a period of time. It's like now you don't create an EMI model to predict for years and years. You need to consider multiple scenarios, right? Which needs continuous diversity, right? Unbiased, you require diverse, unbiased, representative data sets. We call it representative data sets, right? Um, the scarcity will lead to not generalizable or accurate real-time scenarios or real-world scenarios, right? For example, like facial recognition, right? So we work on a lot of them. So facial recognition technology, the lack of the um, diverse ethnic data sets, right, to perform like biased um, or unbiased results, right? That might lead to a very big problem, right? And it is leading to a problem right now. Right? So one of the major things that researchers definitely and all enthusiasts should look forward to is the synthetic data generation, right? Or innovative data collection strategies, right? Um, and there are methodologies like one-shot problems and two-shot learning problems ways, right? The models are getting self-naturally generalized, but data sets are important. So you would have to use large language models, right? And so on and so forth thereof to create synthetic data sets for the good of the society, right? Which is which would create in real time scenarios that you can explicitly present. For example, the discussion that we are having today, right? It can be generalized and created, right? Looking at both our patterns, right? You coming from IGPP, I'm from but we both are talking about artificial intelligence of the nature of the stuff that we can talk about. So if people go to our LinkedIn profiles, right, people will be able to find that they have a common genre and what can they talk about. So you can create a synthetic data set, correct, on the kind of conversations we both can have. It would be about at least 30 to 40% better, right? Or nearest to what it can be thought about, but for which we do not need to be present in that moment, right? That's what I think. Synthetic data would play a lot of strategic part, right, in creation, and with the help of LLM and the generative artificial intelligence, I think there is a lot of scope that would be coming up. Yeah.
So one argument that does come up is that data also reflects the social nuances and the biases that are inherent in the society, right? So is it feasible to eliminate biases from data completely, given that it is inherent reflection of social nuances and perspectives? And what role can data scientists play in development of such responsible and equitable AI systems?
Quite a valid point. See, completely eliminating bias is impossible. I have not found models where, um, depending upon situation to situation, right, you cannot eliminate bias from the data, right? Because it is inherent reflection of the societal bias. It is inherent to the culture of the data and that's how data is, right? We don't human if human beings are creating the data most of the time, right? Human beings are biased. We take judgment on multiple permutation and combinations, and we also make mistakes. We make mistakes, we are calling LLM hallucination, right? So either the machine or the human being, both can make, right? Now, data scientists can play a lot of crucial role. This has been a research subject for a long time, right? And the work of responsible artificial intelligence, the stream of responsible artificial intelligence is the powerhouse behind looking at this kind of a subject, basically, right? In this area, there are bias detection algorithms, right, which are in process in regards we use it, right? Um, you can do that. Then you have diverse data collections frameworks, right? You you try to have multiple points of data, right? And then those data points you would be able to go ahead and do cross validation and so on and so forth. So you can do a data collection methodology, and then you have to use ethical AI frameworks, basically, right? So you either create it or you make it. For example, like credit scoring models, right? So in the credit scoring models, the data doesn't reflect historical lending biases, right? Which is creation, which is as in which is very essential and crucial, right? So while total bias elimination is difficult, you can continuously create a fairness and transparency. That's what I said in the beginning, right? You need to have models which are very explainable, which are transparent. Try not to create a black box, and that's the only way that you can have ethical artificial intelligence and responsible artificial intelligence play its actual role. If you make it a black box, you would not be able to do it. Try to make it as glass box as possible, so that
What's the
people can question, where people can have a fair understanding and converse with the model.
what is this concept of AI as a black box, a term that you just used, and what are its implications?
So black box is the opaqueness in understanding how artificial intelligence make decisions, right? Um, the nature of a black box is happens when you have when you're just giving an input, you don't know what to do with the model, and finally you are getting an output, and you continuously run it through. But what is happening inside, right? What are the weights? What are the features that you're selecting? Whether those are crucial or not. So you're actually trying to do a reverse. You're giving an output, right? And you're trying to tell the model, try as close to come to that method, right? Without telling what I don't want to know how it is happening, right? You just put few layers, right, and try to have minimal loss. Give me great accuracy. Um, it has serious implications of transparency and accountability, which are very critical. For example, spaces like healthcare, criminal justice, right? I'm sure you must be knowing that in the initial years, right, there were models which were developed, right, in the criminal justice system, where in US itself, it came as all blacks are criminals. That's not the way, right? But it was trained on that data, right? We did not even, with the behavioral data which was used, it came out that way, right? In the healthcare system, if the AI decides the treatment path just by reflecting on some of the nuances, right, and basic training, can lead to a very vital problem. So depending upon the circumstances, um, the black boxes are used. Basically, it's still very vital. People go for accuracy and so on and so forth, but um, there are factors of trust and ethical as a practice, right, which comes into picture. So um, this requires development in the first thing that I said, right, is about explainable artificial intelligence. You need to enhance the transparency of the AI decision making process. You need to make it transparent how it is happening. Now there is a lot of work which is happening in this space, right? Deep learning initially was only about primarily black box kind of circumstances, right? Now there is a lot of field work which is happening, right? And responsible, primarily explainable artificial intelligence field will actually take care of it. and this work will happen from this area. But yes, Blackbox will have a lot of implications.
So you also work with startups and incubation cells across the world. The Indian government has introduced National Data and Analytics Platform and an open data platform. In your opinion, how beneficial are these initiatives for startups and small enterprises aiming to develop their systems?
Great point. And app and the data sets of, as in the applications like Bhashini, right? And open data platforms, right, across the world, right? Even specifically India, will be very beneficial for startups, right? As I said, right, data is the mother of every innovation, right? Especially in the artificial intelligence, right? So the more better the data is, and India is known for data, right? So 140 crore plus Indians um, would provide tons and tons of data. The point is standardization, reliability, or reliable data, which can be significant source for developing AI systems, right? Especially for business which lacks data collection capabilities, right? Because that takes a long amount of time. Where should I go? Whom should I contact? Where would I procure a data, right? For example, I would like to create a small scale sector for selling milk, right, in a particular city, right, or a state, right, or a district, right? How would I understand the socio-economic behavior of the people who are staying in that particular, let's say, southern part of Karnataka or northern part of Karnataka, right? Or is are people are people shopping the same way across Delhi and including NCR? These are very vital points, right? So the NDAP and the open government data platforms and so on and so forth would be very beneficial for the startups in any of the ranges, because if they get more data, right, and on time, their products will come out of the market faster. They should also try to give back, right, in the same form in the society, right? With Because you need to make the data more reliable, efficient, conversant, right? Now you need to also contribute to the other part. So only just giving one-sided would not work out. So I think it's a great step, right? There is a lot of money being poured in, and there is an effective usage by government of India right now at this point in time, in giving opportunity, scalability, reliability, efficiency. And there is no doubt that India would become an AI hub very soon, right? On this part, we are already on the path.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your views, and it was highly insightful.
Thank you.